Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In my recent comments, some of you are asking me how to write a stellar statement of purpose when you're submitting an application to the professor or to the university. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the tips that you can follow when you're writing the statement of purpose of your own. Understand that each statement of purpose, which is in a short form called as SOP, is going to be different based on your experiences and based on the study that you're going to go and based on your major that you have already studied. For example, the master's student who is going to come to the US, their statement of purpose is going to look different when compared to the PhD student, because the PhD student is going to have more experience when compared to a master's in all the respects. Make sure you follow these tips in writing your statement of purpose when I have submitted my applications to the universities. I would literally laugh on my SOP when I look into it now, but after reviewing so many things, after seeing so many statement of purposes that my friends or my colleagues and everyone, I have created these tips which can be useful for someone who is looking into getting an admission in the US. So let's straight away go into this. First one is pay attention to what you are putting on that paper. I know the frustration of applying to the universities or sending an email to the professor, but understand that you never know which email they are going to read or from which email you're going to get an admission. So take each email that you are submitting it to the professor as your final one, and make sure your statement of purpose is according to the one that you are submitting. For example, the professor is mainly looking for what is your experience in lab work. Try to write at least a paragraph of lab work experience that you have, anything related to it, any practical class that you have worked, or if you are going for a PhD, or what lab work you have done in your master's. Make sure you emphasize more on lab work than any other work, because this particular professor is asking for such work and it will not be the same for other professor because they might be interested in the different things. So each school or each university is going to be different, and please make sure to read your own statement of purpose once you are getting it out to the professor. And the second one is focus on your unique experiences and qualities. I would consider this as one of the important tip in mentioning your unique qualities, because each individual is different. If you have some unique experiences and if you highlight it in the statement of purpose, then this would create an interest in the professor, oh, this student has some unique quality, why can't I just interview and know more about it? This will create that curiosity in the professor to know more about you. So if you have any unique experiences, please list it down and make sure you highlight it. Admission process is a very lengthy process, and professors, they will read thousands of statement of purpose, if not hundreds, in their emails that they get from the students. So be creative and innovative in explaining your story of your experiences. Okay, if you have the same experience as any other student, but try to explain it in a different way, or maybe innovative way, which creates a spark in your statement of purpose, which itself will explain, okay, this student is quite unique, so let's give him a chance. You never know, so don't miss a chance and be creative in what you are exactly writing on the paper. Third important thing is include the details. Students often forget to about the details. So if you're explaining okay, I have done this lab work at a particular lab, and I have done a work on microorganisms, and I have done a work on pathogens, or I have done a work on genetics, don't just state a statement and just leave it like that. If you are having an experience, try to elaborate or give some details about what exactly you have done. For example, if you have done in a lab with some pathogen work, try to explain in a particular lab, I have worked with the pathogens in the grapefruit, and this research work took place for around maybe 3 months or 4 months or whatever it is. You know what I'm trying to say? Instead of just saying I have worked in a lab, try to explain what you have worked and how you have worked and what are the key things that professor needs to know when he's reading your statement of purpose, because this gives him a detailed explanation of what exactly you have worked and if this aligns with what he's looking for in a student, then this is a bingo. Fourth one is include the institutional qualities. SOP is something that we ourselves explain about our qualities and our qualifications, our experiences and everything. One thing that you should also include in your statement of purpose is about the institute that you're going. The institute or the university that you're applying for wants to know what you know about the university, or what you know about the department, or what you know about the professor, if you narrow it down, like whom you're sending it to. So make sure you read about the institute you are going for, so that this gives them like, okay, the student has done their homework, he's seriously and genuinely interested in this particular institute. So try to read as much as you can and incorporate them into the SOP, so that the professor will also know that, you know, this student is interested in my lab, and let him give a chance. I am sure you should also include some institutional information, because I haven't included any such kind of information into my statement of purpose, so I don't want you to make any mistakes in that, so be careful. Fifth one is don't forget to mention about your academics. SOP is something that you share your experiences and what all you know as a student rather than academics, because you might be wondering, I'm already submitting a resume or CV, why should I again discuss my academics? Well, it's not like, you know, you have to discuss like completely straightforward, like, you know, I have done my master's or I have done my bachelor's in this institute from this time to this time. No, like try to incorporate in such a way that what experiences you have learned being a student. For example, you can say like this: being a bachelor student in fishery sciences, I have gained experiences in going into different government institutes which deal with the fisheries. You know, something like that, which shows them like, you know, okay, this student has a strong academic background. And don't shy to tell if you have any unique experiences that you have faced during your bachelor's or master's, because these type of experiences will make you stand out in your statement of purpose. And one important thing that you can also include in the academics is what knowledge you have gained in the undergrad and how you are going to build the knowledge or continue to learn about this thing in your grad school, like connecting this dots of bachelor's to the grad school, which is master's or PhD, can definitely help you. You have to be kind of creative here to articulate the sentences which connects the bachelor's and master's, and you have to make sure the one who is reading this should understand like you have learned something in your bachelor's and you're more than enough willing to learn more about it in your grad school. You know, literally that's how I got my master's, because for me, I got my master's in turfgrass program. I did only one course in my master's, which I have done in India. So based on that one course, I got the whole master's research work as a student, only based on my interest towards that subject. So that's how it works, and you don't have to have like a complete degree on something to get into that particular subject. Don't get disappointed with any of these things, but if you try it hard and if you are really passionate about the subject, then you are going to get an admission no matter what. Sixth one is talk about the gap, if any, you have between the schools. Some people, they directly don't go from bachelor's to master's and they work, or sometimes they do freelancing, or sometimes they do different kinds of work. Don't skip that part, but try to explain it in the statement of purpose. It may be anything. Even if you have done is freelancing work, or if you have done any kind of jobs, or if you have done any volunteer, anything that you have done in that gap period. If you don't have any that kind of gap, then that's well and good, but if you have, then don't skip it. You will be thinking like, oh, the professor or the university will think like, oh, they have done nothing in this time. Don't think like that. If you explain it properly, then the institute will consider, and they will be like, okay, not everyone are going to do that continuous study and someone will take a break. Try to explain that break, why you took in the statement of purpose, maybe in just like a 1 or 2 sentences, not more than that. The 7th one is explain your research interests. When you're trying to explain your research interests, be careful to write differently for different professors, because not every professor is same and everyone's research interests are different. We as a student, we would like to manipulate things, or we would like to change here and there when we are applying to different professors. But try to make sure that you explain it properly and precisely when you are applying for a particular professor. Let's take mine as an example. When I applied for a turf grass program, I have read what the professor has done in the website, and I wrote like, okay, my research interests are to work in the turf grass program, and I have a clear thought like I'm not going to work for golf courses and only work for athletic fields. So I have precisely written like my research interests are working with the turf grass program for the athletic fields and not golf courses. That's how you need to write. I also have written some statement of purposes to some horticulture professors. So for them, I have written my research of interests based on the research that they are doing in their lab. So it will be different, and don't try to keep only one research interest and give it to all the professors. That will be a very big blunder and you will not get an admission. 8th one is start doing early. You have to make sure your SOP is ready by the time you are emailing to the professors. You have to do this as a first thing. If you have done with your SOP, then you will be like half of the burden is done according to me, because 1, it takes a lot of time, and 2, you need to make efforts to prepare this one. It's not like you'll get a template of resume online and you're going to fill it out, all the details of the sections. No, it's not like that. It has to be creative and it has to be documented in such a way that the professor should be impressed with this piece of paper. If you write a statement of purpose excellent, then there are very good chances of you getting an email back from the professor saying like, let's talk on the Zoom. At least you can start that conversation with them. This is the role the SOP does in the admission process. Please don't neglect it and make sure you do it and write it and proofread it with some other person, and then that's where the magic starts. 9th one is make multiple drafts. Only having a single statement of purpose doesn't serve the purpose. It's a big no, because each institute is different and each research interest of a professor is different and each university's statement of purpose style is different. What I would say is write down like a skeleton of SOP and then make tweaks into it based on which university you're applying to or which professor you're applying to. One draft, all the universities, a big no. Many drafts to many universities based on which you are sending, it's a big yes. It's a time-taking process and it's very tedious one, but you need to do some things to get some things, right? So that's how I did, and I'm also asking you to do if you're really serious about getting an admission. The last tip that I'm going to give, don't copy one statement of purpose with the others. Don't ever do that. I have done that mistake and I have sent like that to I think like a 20-25 professors, which I have copied for someone else. I think it's in 2018 or something. I have taken one sentence from one SOP, another sentence from another SOP and tried to remix, and somehow I made a cocktail of all the sentences and created my SOP, which was a mess. Don't do that. Not to do like this. It takes time and patience, but you can do one thing is read all the statement of purposes in the online or whichever ones you get along, then write down your own sentences. Don't try to have that English at the beginning, but try to write down like what qualifications you have, like, you know, the ones that I mentioned previously, like all the tips. Follow those tips and write down a rough sketch, whatever you can write in one paper, and try to read it. That's where you can start it from scratch, and that's where you can develop SOP. It doesn't come in just one go. It takes multiple corrections and multiple revisions, and that will not be the final. It will be changing from institute to institute and professor to professor. Not one single SOP it's going to be final. It's gonna change, but you know, the framework is very important. So these are all the tips you need to follow when you're writing a statement of purpose. I hope this was informational, but in my next video I'm going to talk about how you can write like paragraph wise, like first paragraph what you need to include, second paragraph, third paragraph, and etc., so that you will also know how to write as a whole. Try to understand what exactly framework of a statement of purpose would be. That will be in another video. So this is all about it, and hope this was informational, and if it is, then please share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you all in the next video. Until then, Shravya signing off. Bye.